Hi there. So today I'm going to be out here on the right side of my house cleaning up some Hosta and also cutting back some grass. I for sure want to cut this grass back right here. Last year was the first year that I didn't cut it back and it completely died on itself, I guess, throughout the winter. And then come springtime, I noticed like it was taking forever and ever to pop back, and it had in fact kind of suffocated itself out because I didn't cut it back. So I don't want that to happen next year. It was completely fine with me because this is the Hakanakloa grass, all gold Japanese forest grass, and it was kind of taking over this area. I had started with 3 tiny little plants, and each year they got bigger and bigger and bigger. It completely started taking this area over, and so I was okay with it dying because I was able to save just a few chunks of it anyway and kind of start over. That way I can kind of keep it in control. But anyway, that being said, I want to cut that back, collect the remainder of my pots that are out here and kind of shove them underneath the deck for overwintering. And then I also want to show you some kind of semi-evergreen plants that are popping up and cut some more things back that are just kind of looking like mush, and I've got the weather to do it. It says it's 36 degrees out here, but it feels a lot warmer than that because it's been super duper cold lately. But I've got my clippers here in my pocket, and then I'm gonna go grab probably just a bag to put all the trash in, and then we'll be good to start cleaning. I'm gonna grab this little rake. This is the Ames rake. You can get this at Home Depot, made in the USA. Well, we're gonna start on this side over here. You can see I've got lots of trash that needs cleaned up, and I don't normally do stuff like this time of year. It's into December now, like the first week of December, and by this time we usually have quite a bit of snow, and any snow that we've gotten has just melted away shortly after. So I thought, you know, I'm gonna take advantage of this nice weather, and I'm out of breath, you guys, walking up that tiny hill. Holy cow, it's a good thing I got out here today. Need some exercise. Anyway, but usually I just kind of leave whatever I don't get cleaned up in the fall. I leave it for spring cleanup. But since we've got this nice weather, I'm gonna get out here and get to some of it. So all right, let's get started. Another reason I like to wait is because the longer you wait to clean your hosta up, you can kind of just do this and rake it. You don't have to cut them, or you can just pull with your hands, and it's just so much easier that way. Like, I'm just gonna pull these out and just kind of break off there. So much easier. Like that. If I was to do this, you know, in the fall earlier, I'd have to get out here with my scissors or pruners or whatever and cut them all off. And I don't have an issue with slugs or snails or anything like that. I know some people have asked me, like, how do you deal with the slugs and bugs and things? I'm like, I just don't deal with them. I don't have that as an issue in my garden. I'm not sure why, but I don't. So that's why I'm able to leave them longer, probably, because this is all mush. This would be a perfect spot for a slug or a bug to hide out in. All this under here is just the droppings of my Japanese maple here. You can see that's the Japanese maple leaves that dropped. So I can just rake those up. So this pot has some perennials in it. It just has some creeping Jenny or Lysimachia Goldilocks. It also has some sedum in it and a Hosta. So this will completely return next year. So I'm basically going to leave it kind of like up against the steps here, but out from under the deck awning there so that it will get some moisture throughout the winter. And it should be just fine. This plant right here has Hosta, a couple different types of heuchera in it, and I think something else, I can't remember. And it's been in here for years, and I literally just leave it right here all winter long. And I don't water it or anything, I just let the snow go on it. And then this planter, I planted up last year, and I left it here right in this spot right here on the deck. Didn't do anything to it, just let it get snow on it, melt, snow on it, melt, so on and so forth, and it came back just beautiful this year. So I'm just gonna leave it there just like I did last year. As I'm going around, I just kind of wanted to show you a few different, I guess, semi-evergreen plants that are really great for color this time of year. And one of those is the Nephophia. You can see it keeps its green pretty much throughout the winter. And I don't trim this back until the springtime. It's a blooming perennial. And normally I don't go for blooming perennials. I go for more leafy perennials that don't necessarily provide you with a beautiful bloom, but they provide great leafy color all season. This is one that I make an exception on because when it's not blooming, it looks kind of like an ornamental grass. And then all throughout the winter, you know, if it doesn't have snow on it, it looks like this and it's green. So that's pretty cool. And then down here, this whole hill right here is full of chocolate chip ajuga, and it just has a really beautiful purple color to it. I love this plant so much, and it spreads like wildfire if you need it to do that. It's also very controllable, I feel. So you can see I planted it on this side of this like wooden log here, and it kind of reseeded itself over here, and all you really have to do is pull it out like that, and you can take that and plant it somewhere else in your garden. It's a great plant and provides lots of semi-evergreen color. Over here, same thing, the carex. Like this carex looks pretty much just as beautiful as it did in the spring and summer. And it will look like this literally all winter long. The deer will probably come in and eat it. So, you know, that will be an issue. You can see the deer have already been nibbling on this heuchera here. They've bitten all these off, but this heuchera will come back just fine. So this is another nice semi-evergreen plant, is the heuchera, until the deer find it, of course. Here's some more carex here. It looks really beautiful this time of year, and I'm hoping the deer don't get to it, but they usually do. Up here, this penstemon will stay like this as well until it pretty much gets smothered in snow, and then it does eventually melt, but the leaves stay really nice and green and colorful like that until we're like dead into the winter. Same thing with this acorus grass. So this is kind of similar to that carex, but it stays just like this all winter long. It's really awesome. And the deer haven't eaten this one. They have not touched that one. The pulmonaria looks really neat this time of year still. You know, I've got leaves all over it, so you can't really tell, but this is the spot-on pulmonaria, and it just provides lots of color this time of year. There's some more carex in there that I'm kind of nursing back to health. I found on clearance. Lamium. This is another nice kind of semi-evergreen. Of course, like I said, the leaves are all over it, so you can barely see it, but this is a beautiful little ground cover if you have a space where you don't mind if it takes over. This lamium does tend to kind of creep, and it might creep so much that it drives you crazy. So that is one thing to remember about that. Here's some more penstemon. In fact, I'm going to cut all these dead stems off. That way you can see how beautiful the underneath foliage is. So this is the Midnight Masquerade, and I have had this in my garden. This is one of the first things I planted when we built our house, probably like 7 years ago maybe now. But this is my favorite penstemon. It blooms for so long, and it's a rebloomer, so if you cut it after it blooms, it will bloom again for you. Sometimes I don't like to cut it though, because I think the old blooms look really cool. Like here, I'll show you. We get a couple of them so you can see. But I kind of like the looks of these old stiff blooms on there. When it's not trying to rebloom again. So sometimes I cut it back, sometimes I don't. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But let's get all this cleaned up. And this is a proven winner variety, the Midnight Masquerade. You can dig this up and split it, divide it, put it in other spots of your garden. Such a great plant. And like I said, when it's not blooming, the leaves have this really neat color to them. See how pretty that is? And it's December in Michigan. I love it. This is a great time to clean out all the grass that's grown in here, I guess, huh? But yeah, I mean, look at how beautiful that is. It's just a nice little pop of color. Over in here, I did clean this out, gosh, I don't know, a few weeks ago, but I wanted to show you some of the, well, actually I would say this is completely evergreen. This isn't even semi, this is an evergreen plant, hellebore or Lenten rose, and it will throw up beautiful, really unique, interesting looking buds come late winter, early springtime. You can see they're already starting to get ready here. But this is just a really neat leaf, and you can hear, I don't know if you can tell, but if you hear how hard they are almost like a waxy, plasticky type of a leaf, so they're super sturdy and strong, and they do really well in the winter here. I've got 3 of them right here, and then I also have them up around that tree there. And they're kind of just a mixture of different kinds, but those are also another great plant for some color in the winter. This is another carex, and the deer have already started to eat this one off. You can see right there. They completely ate this one off pretty much the first thing last winter, and it came back looking beautiful. It was completely hacked back to the ground, and I mean, I don't get too worked up about it. It's almost like they do me a favor because it comes back looking great. I did actually see the deer out here the other day. Max and I were watching from that window. He was squeaking up a storm, and I said, Max, what's going on? So I seen him looking out the window there, and right here, the deer were getting at those heuchera. Same situation. They came in last year and completely hacked back these heuchera. I had planted them last year in the fall, so they were tiny little 4-inch plants I got on sale at Cherry Valley Gardens. Threw them in here, and during the winter, the deer completely hacked them back. And to be honest, I was a little bit worried about them, not because they were getting hacked back, but I thought since they were such a new planting, I didn't know if they were rooted in well enough, and I was afraid that the deer were not just gonna eat the tops off, but actually like pull hard enough to uproot the entire plant. And that did not happen, thank God, because they came back looking absolutely gorgeous this year. This is the dressed up evening gown heuchera from Proven Winners, and they nibbled on it again, like I said, this year just a little bit, and I'm not even worried if they come back for more, because the way they grew back this year, I'm just like, all right, cool. It's not that big of a deal. But anyway, I've got some more hellebore in here, this green stuff right here, so that's a nice little added punch of color. I cannot remember the name of these, but these are the ones that are zone 5 or 6, I believe, and I struggle with them a little bit. This one you can see, obviously, the deer have eaten it off a little bit, but it has struggled this year. It pretty much was that size this whole entire season, and it was that size. It started out that size, but since this is like a zone 5 or 6, I can't remember this specific variety, it doesn't do that well in my garden. I tend to stick to the carex that are a lower zone instead, because they do a lot better in my garden. But these 2 are holding their own. Just kind of drives me nuts that there's only 2 of them there. Here's a couple more little evergreens or semi-evergreen heuchera. These are the Sunrise, I believe, heuchera Sunrise. Super pretty plant. Moss, of course, is a evergreen, so that's awesome. I just kind of collect all this moss here from my woods. Actually, now is a really good time to go back in the woods and collect it, especially once the leaves like this that fall, once they kind of die back, you can really see the moss a lot better. But my hellebore around here are doing really great. So what will happen is these leaves right here are all last year's growth, and when these little guys start to pop up, these new growth, new blooms start to pop up, start shooting out a little bit of a bud, then I'll come in here and I'll cut all of this foliage off and that will put the energy into the new growth. But for now, I just leave it like this. In here, I also have some perennials that will probably just stay like this. Lamium, heuchera, and then another heuchera. I don't have very many regular evergreens out here. Pretty much just a bunch of different boxwoods. As you can see, I've got the green velvet boxwoods right here, pretty much in full shade. And then I have 3 of these green mountain boxwoods in here. So it kind of just provides a little bit of color. Here's another hellebore, or Lenten rose. I actually split that off of, I don't know, one of my other ones and planted it there last year. There's some more carex in here. This is another one that is, you know, a higher zone. So it's not my favorite, but it's there. Looks like the deer got to all these heuchera because I've got Primo Black Pearl in here and Georgia Peach. I for sure want to move my Primo Black Pearl because I don't think they get enough sun. So I'm going to be moving those in the springtime. There's some more beautiful carex. This one has done really well. Another really great semi-evergreen plant is this holly fern. This is a really neat plant. It has kind of the same type texture leaf as the hellebore. It's just a little less plasticky, I guess. But this is a beautiful plant as well. And yeah, these are the Green Mountain, almost like a cone shape boxwoods. I've never trimmed those ones yet. So maybe this spring I'll give those guys a little bit of a trim. We'll see. Down in here, I have a mixture of heuchera. There's a fern right there as well. That looks really pretty. But even though it's not like tons of great color, it just gives a little bit of color in here. I also just love stuff like this tree stump that has moss on it and whatever these are, mushrooms, some sort of mushrooms there. But I think that looks really cool. Up there, I have some more carex, looking great. Again, all my heuchera down here are just giving me so much joy with the colors. And then the little pops of green with all the boxwood. Actually really excited because I moved these 3 Blue Point junipers from up there. They were getting way too much water and they were turning yellow and just really suffering, and I moved them down here kind of in the heat of the summer, didn't water them, just kind of let them dry out, and they look so much better already. I'm really excited about them. So I'm hoping that they grow big and strong right here in this little section. Here's another one of those Nephofia or red hot pokers that I was talking about, the kind of grassy type thing. I've got a few of them in here. The reason why they are cut back is because I divided them this fall. They were over in that section and I planted bulbs in there. So I moved them from that section, divided them, and put them over here, and I cut them back. Otherwise, they would be providing a really nice kind of grassy texture right there. Up here, I did leave my snapdragons because I'm hoping that they reseed themselves. We will see. I've never left them this long before, but I'm hoping that they reseed themselves because I have quite a bit of blue salvia and cleome that loves to reseed itself in here in this area. So I'm hoping the snapdragons kind of do the same thing. This right here is called lamb's ear, this kind of white icy blue looking plant, and it is so beautiful. I started out with one little plant and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and spreading, and it's kind of taken over these little areas. It's super easy to dig out and move if I don't want it to take over an area, but I just love it so much, and you can see it's still providing so much color right now. And it will eventually turn to mush, like once the leaves get so much snow on them, they will start to, turn brown and go to a more mushy state, but it does stay this really nice, icy, soft, kind of like fuzzy looking blue for quite some time. Now, this is kind of promising, actually. I can tell that the deer have been in here because they have eaten off my mahogany monster heuchera. You can see all these little bits that they nibbled on. And why I say this is promising, see that one they completely hacked back, but is they didn't touch that. So they touched this heuchera. This is right up in their face, and they did not touch it at all. I was hoping to get out here and wrap this up so they wouldn't eat it, but they didn't touch it. So I think I'm going to take my chances and leave it unwrapped and just see what happens. This down here is lady's mantle, and it is also, I would say, a semi-evergreen for quite some time. It does eventually kind of succumb to the elements of the winter and turn kind of brown and mushy, but it almost acts sort of like a heuchera in my garden, and it pretty much stays like this all winter long, of course, unless it has snow on it and the deer don't eat it. Same thing with my Shasta daisy. Like if I kept these cleaned up, these leaves just stay really sturdy and strong for quite some time throughout the winter, unless it has tons and tons of snow on it. And I cannot believe this, you guys. I still have berries on my sugar time crabapple trees. This is insane. I can't believe the birds haven't eaten these yet. It's wild. And this little guy, I was kind of worried about it, but it's holding its own. It did say on the tag that it would turn this kind of rusty, bronzy orange color this time of year, but we'll see how it goes. I know these things are kind of fussy sometimes, but it was so cute, and I had a gift card and I got them on sale, so I thought I'd give them a try. These ones are new for me this year. This is a type of a salvia, and I really loved it. It reminded me of the penstemon, the Midnight Masquerade penstemon that I have. Here's another one. This is that same thing I just cut for you, and it still looks beautiful, the foliage. But it reminded me of that, and I thought, boy, that is really neat. I love the foliage of that, and the bloom was kind of cool too. So I tested 3 of them out in here this year. We'll see how it does. This is another one I tested out this year. This is a lamb's ear. In fact, I kept a tag in there. Stecky's Homelo lamb's ear. And this is looking kind of like a semi-evergreen as well. So that's pretty cool, all that green growth there. This corner up here looks really pretty. It's got the heuchera around it, the orange caramel heuchera there with my little blue spruce. And then, like I said, this is the Shasta. I think that's a daisy mate Shasta, so it kind of holds its color like that for quite some time as well. But I just love all these colorful things out here. There's some blue, there's some like purplish, greenish, reddish penstemon. We've got this beautiful caramel heuchera. I cannot believe it. It's good eating. But yeah, this is kind of the overview of the gully, at least. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Nate still has his blind up there, or whatever that is, a tree stand. He still hasn't taken it down to go hunting yet, but this is kind of a little overview of what we've got going on in the winter time. And I'll take you up here real quick, where we've got some more heuchera. Oh man, I know not everyone can grow heuchera, but if you can find some heuchera that survives in your garden, it is such an amazing investment. I mean, this plant literally looks like this 365 days a year, unless the deer eat it off, and then it just takes a few weeks to bounce back in the springtime. But it is just an amazing plant that provides so much color. You guys hear me say this if you watch and hang out with me for any sort of time. You've heard me say this a million times, but I cannot stress it enough. Like, yeah, the flowering perennials, they have their places in some people's gardens here and there. Personally, I prefer to steer clear of that kind of thing and just go to the leafy foliage color, like your heucheras, your carex, your penstemon. Also any type of perennial that provides you with a sort of texture, like a Nephophia or a Siberian iris or something like that. I do want to take you down here, speaking of textured perennials. This is a perennial that I love. Also, it is a semi-evergreen. It's called a Stokes aster. Look at this. Isn't that beautiful? It looks just as good in the winter as it does in the spring and summer. So this is another great one. It gets a beautiful, almost like, I would say like a bachelor button looking flower on it, purple one. Actually, here's the dead flower stems from it. So this is kind of the structure of the flower here. It almost looks like a straw flower or a bachelor button, I would say, and it's a beautiful, almost like electric looking purple color. So this is another plant I really love, Stokesia. But you can see, like, there's no color in this bed. It's all dead, brown, gross looking, and then wha-bam, we've got the Stokesia and then a bunch of heuchera. And you guys, this poor heuchera, this is the Palace Purple heuchera. I've got 3 beautiful ones in here. And for the past few years, as this Annabelle hydrangea has gotten bigger and bigger, it completely drowns out these heuchera. So I'm gonna come in here in the spring, dig out that whole chunk of the hydrangea. That way I can expose this heuchera a little bit more to some nice sunshine. I already took a huge chunk off this side of it and replanted it another place in my garden, so just gotta get to this other side. All right, well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with me, and thanks for checking up on me. I know it's been several days since I posted up a movie for you. I've just been busy. I've had allergies going on. I swear I'm not like a hypochondriac. Like, I hardly ever like have issues going on, but man, my allergies were kicking my butt there for a minute, and I finally got it under control. Even though it's 36 degrees outside, it's so nice. I'm gonna get out there and clean some more stuff up and show everybody the stuff that still looks kind of cool, in case you're looking for something to plant for something cool to look at in the winter time. But anyway, all right, we'll see you guys later, hopefully. Bye. Have a good day. I know. What are they doing in our garden? What are they doing? They just munch on the heuchera, maybe a little bit of carex, and they're off to something else.